Alright people, let's do this one last time. My name is Erjean Kim. I was bitten by a poisonous idea, and for years, I've been one among many other struggling modern women. I'm pretty sure you know the rest. You see, I was talked over by a bunch of guys, grew angry, got ignored, then got ignored again, and again and again, and again. Maybe a little too much. Then a few years passed, blah blah blah, and things are getting worse. This asshole becomes a Supreme Court justice. Captain Marvel gets trashed online by a bunch of salty fanboys. We don't know if we should wear more clothes or less clothes. We don't get paid as much, and now our reproductive rights are being taken away. But we're handling it like champs. Well, not really. I, for one, always feel my blood pressure rising at an unhealthy rate when I stroll innocently into the comment section of a feminist page and see all these weak men talking about how women belong in the kitchen. Let's get serious. About a year ago, I read this little book called The Handmaid's Tale. To be completely honest, I didn't really like it. The writing style began to grate on my nerves about halfway through because it was so repetitive and sugary. It reminded me of one of those meaningless contemporary poems that are so prevalent these days, a carefully crafted combination of empty, aesthetic-sounding phrases. The ending left me dissatisfied, and I returned the book to its rightful place with an air of disappointment. Recent events, however, made me change the way I approached The Handmaid's Tale. The prose was still average work, but the haunting dystopian aspect of the book became more and more relevant to the modern day. We watched from the sidelines as idiots rose to positions of power and, in what seemed like a horrifying parody, began to strip away our rights one by one. Not all of this was obvious, of course. I'd like to go off on a small tangent here and talk about how sexism is harder to combat than racism. In my opinion, at least. With racism, people can fight back while taking pride in their race. They're not shamed for that. With sexism, I feel it's more difficult to stand up for yourself. There is more to lose when a woman uses her voice. Since sex is such an intimate and vulnerable topic, it's infinitely easier to tear apart a woman who stands up and says, "I am a feminist." I've seen lots and lots of this kind of shaming on social media, especially Instagram, where I follow a few feminist pages. I always check the comments because I can't help myself. And every time, the male race doesn't let me down. Here are some screenshots for proof. Okay, so I'm not going to use a script for this part to make it more authentic, so just bear with me. So, the first one says, "Women are powerful in the kitchen." Well, that's a really common comment, and it's kind of annoying. The second one also says, "Get back in the kitchen." And the third one says, I don't even know what it means, but did y'all know the decrease in fertility rate is directly correlated to increase in women's suffrage and the number of women in the workplace? Hashtag stay in the kitchen. I don't know what this dude was trying to say. So okay, whatever, moving on. The fourth one's concentrate on women in third world countries. You guys already have equality. Okay, so there's two problems with that comment. First one is even if we have legal equality, which we don't, by the way, because of, reproductive rights and stuff, it doesn't mean we have social equality. There's still a lot of sexism in America, and if men don't realize that, then they're just dumb. And also, we can concentrate on feminism everywhere. It doesn't just have to be in third world countries. So basically, this comment is really stupid. Now that that's over and done with, I'd like to end this video by just going on a rant and stating a few major opinions. I remember earlier this year, there was this one time I said, everyone should be a feminist. A smart-ass boy said in reply, "You can't say that. No one has to be anything." I was with two other guys when this happened, so obviously I didn't say much then, but I will now. I actually really dislike people who say things like that. Self-righteous people are dangerous to be friends with, and even more dangerous to have in the field of politics. If you're not a feminist, then by definition, you're disagreeing with the notion that men and women should have equal rights. So my statement still stands. Everyone should be a feminist. When we look around us, it's easy to see that this world is still a male-dominated one. Most governments are run by men. It's difficult to enjoy a superhero movie with a female lead without suffering a lot of backlash. In everyday life, women have to work a little harder than men to be heard and taken seriously. Despite all this, I'm confident that one day, perhaps in a century or 100 centuries, sexism won't be an issue anymore. One day, we'll finally be considered first human, then woman. Even if no one else is willing to fight for this future, that's okay, because woman will.